So this was a good movie. It made me so sad. Like, so whenever I watched, I think it was Endgame and Scarlett Johansson playing Natasha. Whenever Natasha died to get the Soul Stone, well, she basically gave herself up to get the Soul Stone. Oh God, and Hawkeye, because their relationship was like this, and it didn't have to be even like a romantic thing, and it wasn't weird. It was just two friends who loved each other as friends, and I felt so bad for him when she died, because I was like, that was his friend right there, like that was his friend. He loved him some Natasha, like, and I was so sad. I was like, I know they're not gonna do this to me. Like, I know they're not gonna punch me in the gut like this, but they did, and there was no coming back for her. Even after the snap, even after they fixed everything and killed Thanos because she gave up her life for the Soul Stone. Anyways, I still wanted to watch the movie, even though they were saying, "Oh, we had some conflict because of COVID," and it's like 2 years later. I didn't care. I still wanted to watch the movie, and it was good. But anyways, it started off with, them showing Natasha and Yelena, her sister, as the children. You can tell that, like, Natasha, of course she was the older sister, so of course it was going to happen. But she was like that, person to lean on for her sister. You're like, I'll be there for you, And I'm thinking, so how did their life go from this to that? And then they show you in like 5 minutes. And I was like, so you basically find out her parents were like Russian spies, basically. They were fake parents, and I'm not talking about them being adopted parents. No. I'm talking about fake parents, as in that was a part of their cover for being a spy. And whenever they got, they were like on the plane, that was pretty cool, seeing him like flip the little thing out the way. And I'm like, oh, so he's got, super strength. And then you realize he was a super soldier, or he got the super soldier serum. And you're like, oh, get away, because they were on the plane, they were getting shot at. I'm like, well, I hope the gas tank don't get shot, because all of y'all gonna blow up if that happens. But then you realize what happens as a result of them getting away, and you're like, well, maybe getting away wasn't exactly the best thing for them. Now, I don't know if those soldiers would have shot Yelena and Natasha too. They probably would have, but I don't know. But, he was like one of the, people who they gave the super soldier serum, basically sort of like an experiment. And then their mother was one of the people who came up. I think it was like some kind of like serum or something. I forgot. I don't remember if she was on the super soldier serum project, but she had something to do with the Red Room and helping them be able to brainwash and produce Black Widows, basically. You taking girls and doing something to them to make them Black Widows, basically into weapons. And it was very hard to watch too, and very heavy hitting, because we all know stuff like this happens in real life. There are children who get trafficked, and this stuff happens to them, and it's sad. So that was sad to see. That was like really heartbreaking, because it was like, this is real. Like what they're showing us, this is real. But anyways, so then it fast forward to like her, like kind of like post, I guess Avengers 1, when she had like left with Steve and she was like on the run. And then you asked whoever that guy was, I don't remember his name. He was only like 5,000 steps behind her at every turn. Talking about she was in this building and she's on a boat leaving, going somewhere else. I'm like, y'all are sorry at y'all job. I'm sorry. There you go. I said it. Somebody needed to. Then she was hiding out with this guy who looked like he wanted to, have like a relationship with her, but she clearly was like, yeah, I ain't got time for that. And I know she wanted to have children. I think that was one of the things she wanted, even though like she couldn't physically, because doggone it, the people and the Black Widow little organization and them people at the Red Room kept that from happening. But anyways, so Yelena was running around. I can't remember where she was, but she was running around, and basically there was one, and I don't know how she broke the conditioning, but somehow she did. Maybe somebody else helped her, and she had these vials that was supposed to help them basically, uncondition their brains, basically. And the first person she got to, of course, was Yelena. But they were fighting because they were after her. And she stabbed her, like, in the gut. Like, you get stabbed in the gut, that's it for you. Like, unless, like, the angels come down themselves and make sure you make it, like, that's it for you. Like, especially certain places in your gut. Like, you get stabbed where your appendix is. That's it for you. Like, it's gone. Like, after that, you're gone. She was like, when she like she pushed that stuff in her face, and she was like, oh no. She was like, don't worry, just help the other widows, like help them. And so she took it, and then for whatever reason she sent it to Natasha, which almost got her killed because the Taskmaster showed up and they were fighting, and then she realized that the Taskmaster could like mimic people's like, you know, moves or whatever. And so she like jumped off the bridge or whatever, and she got the little vials. She was like, oh thank God she got the vials. And then she found Yelena, and she was like, well, you know, they started fighting at first, and I was like, why are they fighting? And I guess she maybe had, you know, she thought that like Natasha was still under the conditioning or whatever. And I'm like, why are they fighting? Stop, this is not what sisters should do. And I mean, that fight was something else, throwing each other into cabinets and on countertops, and whoo, I was like, I know y'all didn't do all of that without at least getting bruised like a little bit. But anyways, they stopped fighting. She was like, why did you send me that? You could have got me, you know, you almost got me messed up. And she was like, look, I got it from another one of us that used to be a widow, and you know, this is what we gotta use to help them, you know. So they team up. They didn't have no choice after that because they were found by the widows and they were trying to escape. I wish I could like do a Russian accent, because her Russian accent was so cool. I'm just saying, like, you know, not to like, you know, be like a fanatic or whatever, but I just really like her Russian accent. Anyways, but you know, she was like, do you have a plan? She was like, I'm working on it. And she was like, so you don't have a plan? Great. That sucks. And so they were trying to get away from the widow, and then the Taskmaster showed up again. They were driving a car and literally drove it down into a subway and flipped it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if it exploded, you know, again or whatever. But I'm just like, with all of that, well, I think I do remember like it like tumbling, and then it went down there and flipped up, and I was like, are they even still alive in there? Like, obviously they are, because, you know, but like, are we sure that any normal person would have survived? And that's another thing, some of these stunts, they were feeding me wolf cookies, because like whenever they were first running away from the widows that was sent to them, like they jumped on some sort of like cylinder thing, and then, you know, Yelena like kicked some little lever, and it like started to fall, and the other widow tried to jump, and she made it too late. Yelena falls in a window, busts the window, and hits the wall in the other building, while Natasha falls, hits everything on the way down. And I'm like, I don't believe she's still alive. I don't believe this. This is a dream. Yelena is concussed. She's in a coma, and she's dreaming the rest of this movie, because they did not survive those falls. But apparently they did, and you know, the widow that fell, you know, she got messed up, and she was like, I can't control it. He's making me do this, and she was like looking like, oh God, tell me what I can do to help. But there was nothing at that point, because the guy who was in control of everything, made her kill herself on the spot, right before Yelena could get to her. And so they were like, you know, I think it hit home more of an importance of why they had to stop this guy. So they got together, you know, they were, you know, like I said, after they got chased by the Taskmaster, she was like, I have an idea. And so they, you know, Yelena had like got a cut, and so they like did like a blood trail, where they like faked it into like, I think the sewers or something, but they would hide like up in like the air ducts or something like that. She was like, oh, this was like a, you know, a trick that I got from my other friend. Then they like kind of like slowed it down a little bit, and they were like treating her wounds, and they were talking. And, you know, they needed those little moments, because those moments were robbed from them, you know, as children, you know, after what happened, being brought to the Red Room, being turned into black widows. And there was a moment when they were like driving in the car, and she was like, ugh, every time you jump down from something, you do that pose. She was like, what are you talking about? That pose, like, you know, where you like bend down, like, you know that pose. And she was like showing her like in the convenience store. She was like, that pose, you're such a poser. She was like, I am not. Like I said, they needed those moments, and it was cute to watch that between them. So they were like on the way driving, and she was talking about like her jacket and all the pockets, and they were going to get Alexei. And I just thought that whole scene was hilarious. Him in the prison talking about like how he fought Captain America, and they were like, that's a load of like bull, because Captain America wasn't even unthawed at that time. And then, so there have been some people who have been theorizing, some people who like, you know, theory channels who have been saying that like it wasn't actually Captain America, but it was somebody else who had been given the super soldier serum. But that's a little bit unsettling to know that there was somebody else with a super soldier serum just running around, if he was still alive, or she. But anyways, he was going on about he fought Captain America, but apparently it wasn't actually Captain America, it was somebody else. And then they got into a fight. They, and because he had to start create a diversion, and he gets out, and then they basically, I forgot, I think it was Yelena or somebody blew up the mountain, and like, I know they were criminals, but they killed all of them. Let's just be honest. And that was just messed up. And then he was trying to have like a moment like, oh, my little daughters, and they're like, don't touch us, just sit down and put your seatbelt on, like, we got stuff to do, like, we taking this guy out. He was like making crude jokes about them, is it that time of the month? And they're like, doggone well, we don't even get that time of the month no more, thanks to you, your wife, in the stupid red room, and the guy who's in charge of it. And I thought that was really like tactless and just disrespectful of him to do. But anyway, so they go to the fake mom. I forgot what her name was. But they go to the fake mom, her little farm where she has pigs that she's apparently conditioning, like how basically how they do the Black Widows, talking about stop breathing. And it's just like, and I'm like, this is animal cruelty. And I don't like it. Anyways, so they were talking, and, Natasha was like, you know what? This was a fake family. Y'all are garbage. This was never going to be like a real family. And Yelena was like, no, don't say that. Like, this is all I had. Like, remember we were orphans, or I was an orphan. It was like, she basically, like, even though she knew it was fake, she wanted it to be real because it was the only family she had. And that was just so sad, because she was like, it's real to me. It's real enough. It's as real as I'm going to get. So, I'm taking it. Then she went to go sit in the room by herself, and I guess Alexei was trying to have a father-daughter moment. And at first she was like, I'm not really here for this. I'm not having it. Like, you can keep that. But then he kind of seemed like he was trying to tell her in so many words that he was sorry in his own way, maybe, that they were awful people for what they did to them, and helping this guy who was in charge of the Red Room and the Black Widows do what they did to all these girls. And then of course the mom had to go and be trifling, talking about, I'm sorry, darling, I've already called the Red Room. She was like, really? And so at first I was like, she didn't really just screwed all of them over. But then they had the little technology where, apparently Natasha switched places with her, and she like pulls it off, and she was with the guy, which, she wanted to be. And then fake mom was helping Alexei escape, helping Yelena escape. She was like, why didn't you tell me this before? But she's like laying on the table, getting like lines drawn on her head where they were gonna, like, I guess cut out her brain or something. And so they're like going around. She's like setting bombs everywhere. I gotta admit, that scene where the mom was setting bombs and doing all that kind of stuff, that was funny. But anyways, so she was like, she had told her, tell Natasha before all of this that they show you, because it's like, what the world's going on? She was like, he has like this stupid thing where you can't punch him unless your nose is broken, so you need to like break your nose before you can like fight him. And I was like, before they went back to that, I was like, oh my god, she can't fight him, because she was like, like, she kept trying to like punch him. He was like, haha, I have pheromones, and when you smell them you can't punch me. And I'm just like, that's just so ugh. Like, you just cheated, you're just such a cheater. And then he punches her, and I'm like, now what kind of a half of a man is this? But she was taunting him on purpose. And like I said, they go back and they show you what the fake mom told her, that she was trying to provoke him, but apparently he couldn't punch hard enough. But then again, this is Natasha we're talking about. So then she breaks her nose on the table, and I was like, who can just break their nose on command, or just intentionally? But anyway, she did it, but he again cheated again, and got out of there before she could actually like beat him up or do anything, and then call all the widows on her. She was like, I don't want to hurt you. You don't want me either. She starts fighting. She was like holding her own, but then they got her, and they were like punching her, like, and I was like, oh god. But then Yelena got to her just in time, put a bomb on the little things, and exploded it on all of them. They were like, wow. And like, okay, we need a single file, get out of here now. And everything was blowing up. And I was like, oh dear god, like, they got to get out of there. And then she had stopped, I forgot what it was that was on my flash drive, what she was trying to do with the computer, but I think it had something to do with like all the girls who he was trying to like get to make new widows with, and I think the formula or whatever that they were using, and whatever it was she was trying to do, I think the point was that she did it successfully. And I was like, yeah, she got it.